So we can just get started now. Welcome back, everyone. It's always exciting to see your faces and also see the new faces that are joining us. I'm going to pass it off to Marvin to talk about our event announcements.
Yeah, so a few days ago, we had a collaboration with ASIB, and it was a very great meeting. Today, we have guest speaker Justin Felix and Anita Chen from Nuveen Real Estate. So very great meeting today as well. As for next week, for our next meeting, we're going to be at the CRE NIO panel. So be sure to tune into that. It's going to be a great way to end the semester there. And then the day after, we're going to have a time slot for a professional business photo shoot by one of my good friends that you'll see in the upcoming slides. And then, of course, for finals week, we will not have a meeting since we want your studies to be the priority.
So if you haven't already, you can scan this QR code, which will take you to our link tree, which will then show you all of our social media links. On our YouTube, we post all of our meeting videos, so you can be up to date, or if you want to look back on some of our past guest speakers and events. On Instagram, we post weekly. We post a summary of our guest speakers in our meetings, and we also post other opportunities. And yeah, you can go to the next slide. And like Marvin mentioned, we will be having a professional headshot on Friday the 13th, which will be at the CBA courtyard. For paid members, it is free, and for regular members, it will be $5. And if you are a paid member, that means you have gotten a membership for either the semester or the full year.
Thank you. And so we are holding e-board elections. So there will be a interest form, a Google form that is dropped. If you already received the application form, you don't need to do the interest form again. Don't worry. We're looking for president, vice president, director of internal, scheduler, treasurer, and marketing directors as well. And so, yeah, if you're interested, please sign up with that interest form. We're trying to wrap this up by next week. So if you guys can, fill that out by this Sunday, that would be great. And I'll send you guys all the interest form, the actual applications, and we'll come up with the interview time. But yeah, this is a great way, to encourage professional development in yourself, get that personal branding up. Allegra came a few weeks ago to talk about that, and this is a perfect way to do that. And on top of that, this gives you the other side. You guys are coming in for the general meetings, but what happens behind the scenes to get these meetings going and to get these guest speakers and these opportunities out there. So I 100% recommend, these people that I've worked with are amazing, amazing individuals, and sad to go after this semester, but I know that it'll be in good hands, and I'm excited to see where it goes after this. And I'll give it back to Heidi for this job posting.
Yes, so we were reached out to by Edward Pham, who founded Milk House Investors with his wife, Renee. And so they're looking for 2 student interns, to work alongside with them, or other members of their team in a day-to-day operations. And so this internship details learning the ins and outs of flipping homes, including property visits, property management, and selecting the designs and analyzing deals. So they do house flips and fixes. But obviously it's not exclusive to that, and you can learn from other opportunities, such as their long-term or short-term rentals as well. So if you're interested, you can contact Edward Pham at his email down below, and definitely introduce yourself. Tell them about your tell them you're a member of REA, and yeah, just definitely start talking to him. And he's really open and really sweet, and so I definitely recommend just emailing him, see where it goes.
So we have Allegra here, so she's going to be taking over and talking about the CRE Boot Camp.
Absolutely, and I'm happy to be back and see familiar faces, and I'll make it quick. But the broker I'm working with, Gary Martinez, is going to be presenting at the 2022 Commercial Real Estate Boot Camp. These tickets run for $149, and we're actually giving away free tickets to students. It's going to be through an application, so if you can just, if you're interested, if you want to learn more, network, These are all great speakers, and looking to enter commercial real estate. This is a great opportunity. Fill out the application on the Google form, and we will be announcing it by next week. But yeah, excited, and I hope to see you guys there.
Thank you so much. And then your application, Marvin, if you want to take that.
Yeah, for those interested in the SEER scholarship, it's still available. However, the due date is coming to a close. It is due in 8 days, I believe, to be exact. SEER is the Society of Industrial and Office Realtors, and they're the leading trade association of commercial real estate professionals. So for the scholarship, you must be a full-time business or finance major, provide a copy of your resume and transcript, and have 2 letters of recommendation on top of filling out the Google form by May 13th. If you do end up getting elected for this amazing opportunity, there's a required COR meeting on May 26th.
Now I will pass it on to Norette Walls, past Cre Inland Empire president, to talk about the next scholarship.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. It's really nice to see all the familiar faces. And I just want to say it's amazing that you guys do this and share this information together. And for those of you that haven't decided to go to a boot camp yet with NAOP or get involved in any of these other opportunities that are coming up, the ones that Allegra has told you about, or the scholarship with SAOR, all of that is huge. And if you take the time and invest a little bit of money into any of those opportunities, you will meet some amazing people that will help you along the way and really want to push you to get you where you want to be. And that is the one thing I can say about Cre. So I've spoke to your real estate club before. You all have heard my story. I've been in this place now in my life in commercial real estate for over 20 years. And the Cre organization came into my life in 2013. And I will say it changed my outlook on my career and my future dramatically. So just being female and being involved in this industry, we have a lot of hills we have to overcome because it is a very male dominated industry. However, we're seeing that a lot of those things are changing. So we're kind of turning the path, and we're directing it our way forward, the way we want it to be. And we're getting our seat at the table, and we've broken the glass ceiling, and the opportunities are there now for all, not just for men. So in 2011, Cre Inland Empire decided it wanted to open up its own foundation to provide scholarships to local women, young or in a professional age, going to school for some form of commercial real estate. So we now offer scholarships to each year, and we've been doing that since 2011. This year, my whole goal as president for the 2 years was to be able to raise enough money in our foundation that runs tandem with our chapter to be able to up our scholarship level to $5,000 each and offer 2 scholarships. So we are offering 2 scholarships this year at the $5,000 level. And I will show you our website.
Let me stop sharing this screen.
There we go. So I'm sure some of you or all of you know someone who is interested. So someone else is still sharing, I think.
Oh, it shows your page.
It says it won't allow me to share mine while I'm not. Okay. Can you see it now?
Not yet. I think it's still loading. Oh, now we can see it.
Perfect. Okay. So if you know anyone that is looking for scholarship dollars, we encourage you to visit our chapter website, cre-inlandempire.org, that you see here. Under this little tab called About, you go to Scholarship. And I'm sorry, but my internet connection at home is very slow because I live in the middle of nowhere. So this tells you about our Inland Empire Foundation and about our scholarship. I want to share with you the fact that it does say award amount $2,000. When I talked to Heidi on Tuesday, they were updating our website for us, which they did not complete, obviously. This is supposed to say $5,000, this amount. So I don't want to give anyone bad information. The amount is $5,000 that you're going to be applying for. So eligibility for our scholarships, you need to be enrolled at an Inland Empire Community College or a university. We do consider Cal Poly Pomona the Inland Empire, so all of you do qualify for that. You need to be female with a GPA 3.0 or higher. And you have an intent to pursue a career in some way in commercial real estate. So, you know, we had come to Cal Poly, I believe in 2017, with a panelist group to speak to all of the business students and let them know about real estate, commercial real estate, and all of the job opportunities there. And people really don't know all the job opportunities that are available for you in commercial real estate. So we're going to be reaching out again to come to you guys with another panel to let you know about all the jobs that are available. And I can tell you, you know, there's real estate finance if you want to get into loans and lending. There's commercial brokerage if you want to sell properties. There's development, there's property management, architecture, all of those different things. But yet the title insurance side of what we do, no one ever talks about that. And there's probably 15 different jobs within the industry that I work in alone that you can get and still work in commercial real estate. Between the closing process through escrows, escrow officers, escrow assistants, title officers, title assistants, underwriters, examiners, search teams, surveyors, all these different things that go on within our title alone, our industry. So we want to bring all those things forefront for you and show you a little bit of everything that's available out there. So I encourage you all to please go to our website. And I know in the past years, we've come to you as soon as you've come back to school in your semester, or your fall semester starts in August. And so we're bombarding you with, please complete the scholarship application and all of these things. And you guys are trying to get involved with your classes and your courses and get all those things done. So this year we're coming to you early. We're hoping that you can take the opportunity now to go to our website, go ahead and try for the scholarship, complete the application, and then we'll have more time to evaluate all of them and hopefully make our selection over the summer months. You will be selected, you will know that you are the recipient, and then we will be announcing it to everyone at our annual foundation dinner, where you will be awarded with your check and have your pictures taken and all those different things. So Sonica has been there, she knows all about that. So has Allegra. They're both past scholarship recipient winners for us. So thank you so much for that. But I think as a female and you're getting going in this career, there's a lot of men on this call today too. You guys know women that are in your classes, tell them about this, because it is something that is specific and unique just for them. And you have no idea the power of Cre and what we're able to help you do. And it's not just about giving you money. We want to help find you jobs. We want to help find you pathways forward. And we want to be that mentor that you always have there in your life that helps you with your career going forward. So what questions do you all have for me?
Please feel free to ask questions. This is actually honestly one of like an amazing opportunity, and I think Allegra can also attest to that. Yeah, Allegra.
Yeah, let me just, because one thing that I would ask Nura would be, what are some upcoming events that students could attend to meet professionals and Cre?
Absolutely. So hang on, and I'm still sharing my screen here. So let me just go to events and I will show you what we have upcoming. So we really welcome students into our organization and especially to our chapter. And I know that Anita is here from Coolidge County today, and they do the same thing within their chapter. We're so grateful to have the opportunity to meet with you and talk with you guys and really see if there's anything we can do to help you, because really we want to help, and most people do want to help you. So don't ever be afraid to ask, because we really do want to help. So here's our upcoming events. We're having a joint event with Crew Los Angeles at the San Diego racetrack on Friday the 13th. So we're going to have lunch and spend the day at the races. So it's a great networking event if you have the opportunity to attend. May 18th, we're going to be having our market meetups. So we have one in Ontario, Redlands, Temecula, and Corona. So wherever you're closest to, you can come there for about an hour and a half and you network, and then we have a topic that we discuss. And then June 20th, we're having a really huge event. It's going to be the first one in the Inland Empire. This was a brainchild that we came up with. And as you're working in the development area throughout the Inland Empire, people are building everything from industrial properties to homes, and they're running out of space in the IE. They really are. So that means that they're either going A, to the high desert, or B, to the lower desert. So what we're doing is we're going to have a joint event to highlight the top projects in the high desert and the low desert, what the needs are, and show you the values of both of those different areas within the Inland Empire. So it's going to be an event attended by about 250 plus people. It's going to be at the University of Redlands. So there'll be a lot of people to meet there. And I definitely encourage you guys, especially with Crew. Our website is the coolest one that you will find. It's better than the others, and I'm going to tell you why. And this is the only reason why it's better, trust me. But it's because when you sign up for an event or you want to go to one of our events, the registration information of who's attending is right there on that page. You don't have to be a paid attendee to get the registration list. So that's something that we do so that people can see, oh, you know what, someone's actually coming from Alliance Residential. I really want to talk to them. So definitely look at those things when you're going to be attending some of these conferences. We're going to be having our summer soiree in July, which is going to be like a networking event. So definitely, we're also doing a Port of Los Angeles tour in August. And then we have our market meetups in September as well. So check out this website. It's crew-ie.org. Everything is right here that you're going to need, whether it be for the scholarship under About and click on scholarships, or you want to learn about our events. I will tell you that the websites, when you see events, don't click on Crew Network events because you're not going to want to look at those. You're going to want to look at the local events here that we're having with Crew Inland Empire. So we support you guys in everything that you're doing. We thank you so much for all the hard work that you're doing, and just know that we're here to help you in any way that we possibly can.
Thank you, Norette, for joining us and for telling us about the scholarship. I hope people do apply. It's a great opportunity. And, you know, now going on to the next part, I'll be really quick. Everyone, you guys know about my etiquette. I won't say it again and I won't repeat it again because I know you guys are tired of hearing me say it, but just be respectful of the guest speakers. If you have questions, raise hands or say it in the chat. And of course, the guest speakers will talk about how they want to facilitate questions as well. But if you don't want to speak either, use the chat. We'll call on you during Q&A, or the guest speakers will see that you have a question and they'll make sure to answer your question during that time. And now, without further ado, I will be presenting Anita Chen and Justin Felix from Nuveen Real Estate, a TIAA company. I hope I did that properly. And yeah, I will pass it on to them, who will be starting this presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Sonika. Let me go ahead and share screen here. Cool. All right. And also just to kind of touch on Norette's note, women empowerment in the real estate industry is huge, and no other company does it better, I think, than Nuveen Real Estate and TIAA, which is our parent company. So Carly Tripp, who is the head of all of our investments, the CIO of our company, is an incredible woman and a great speaker. She's frequently on CNBC and really does a lot for women's involvement in the real estate world. And our new CEO is the son of Brown Duckett, graduate from Baylor. Incredible woman as well, and really kind of spearheads an effort here at TIAA to get women more involved in the financial services space. So it's definitely a key initiative of our company, and can be more proud to be a part of this company. So without further ado, I'm kind of go through this kind of quickly because I don't want to be kind of lecturing here, but after each slide I can stop and take time to talk about questions, or we can even hold that off to the end as I kind of roll through this. So I'll start off the presentation and I'll have Anita hop in and share her piece as well. So So I'm Justin Felix, associate here at Nuveen Real Estate. I'm on the acquisitions and dispositions team, focusing on the housing side of the business. A little bit about me, just from the very, very, very beginning. I started off as an investment sales analyst at Marcus and Millichap, actually during my junior year at Cal Poly. So I was doing that on the side. I was taking classes Tuesdays and Thursdays, kind of really piling it in all day long, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, going to work and really getting that hands-on experience. So I did that up until I graduated, then moved into a sales role where I was focusing on kind of high net worth individual private client money, really focusing on that like sub $20 million price tag in all apartments throughout the Inland Empire. So I was out of the Ontario office, did that for about a year and a half, and realized I wanted to learn more about, being on the principal side of the business. So like who is buying these properties when it's, not just a mom and pop, doing it for, the retirement savings or just, as a kind of side investment, but, who's doing this at a bigger scale, and how does that play into the real estate world? So in 2018, I had an opportunity to move over to Nuveen. At the time, it was called TH Real Estate, and God knows how many name iterations our company's gone through. It used to be TIA Real Estate, TH Real Estate, Henderson Global Advisors, so all over the place. But now we settled on a name, so we're Nuveen Real Estate. I started off on the asset management side as an analyst, really doing kind of supporting work for all of our asset managers. One of my biggest projects was focusing on understanding our renovation program across the United States. So when we buy a value add deal, one of the biggest plays on the housing side is to go in and renovate all those units, bring the property up to a kind of a newer finish level, and then go ahead and sell it at that point. So I was really tasked with understanding how we were doing from a return on cost standpoint, and understanding where the budgeted numbers to do these renovations were coming in and compared to what we had underwritten for that and what the actual costs were. So did that for about 6 months. Then I had a chance to move over to the transactions team where I am now. And honestly, I love this side of the business. It's very entrepreneurial. A lot of changes week to week. You're getting new deals across your desk every day, essentially. And so there's just a lot of things going on to where you do a lot of travel. You go see the assets. When you're in the bidding process, it's constantly changing. So if you're a person that loves that kind of lifestyle where you don't know really what your day to day is, this is something that maybe might interest you as well. So recently got promoted to associate, now doing some junior sourcing on my side of the role. And then so yeah, it's a little bit about me. Top into this. So I don't want to dive too deep into this, but I just give a slide about, Narette talked a little bit about the opportunities in the commercial real estate world. From a private equity real estate perspective, these roles right here on the screen are really the key ones that you could kind of fall in line with the exception of brokerage. Obviously, brokerage are the people who are pitching us the deals to buy. But everything else here on the screen really lives within our wheelhouse. So the investments, which is the side I'm on, asset management, where Anita is now on. She used to be on the debt side, but was on the investment side from a debt perspective. Fundraising, business development. So those are really the people that are going to the wirehouses like the Merrill Lynch's of the world, the UBS's, trying to drum up that business to bring us more money, and also just going to the various other clients that we work with. Investment banking, so the Goldman Sachs's of the world have real estate funds. They also have real estate teams that directly invest on behalf of their company as well. Portfolio management is the group that is really managing all these different assets and building out the portfolios from a very different product type perspective. So from housing to industrial, office, retail, the full gamut. They're building up that portfolio. Development, just as much as it sounds, building a brand new building from the ground up. Operations side, so this could be in-house on our side, so like accounting, some more compliance type roles, or on the housing side, the property management side, so the people who are running the asset day to day. And we use outside companies to handle that work. And then prop tech, which is probably the newest and most shiny item to this whole spectrum here. So a lot of the companies that we work with that do the kind of different like apps or websites that we use at our properties. One of them could be like the butterfly system. So at a lot of high rise or even mid-rise housing assets. We have like this butterfly system that's at the front door. So the leasing office can see who's coming and going from the property. Also, residents who live there can sign in from their phone and allow their friends to come into the front door and kind of see who's there and accept packages and whatnot. So that's an area of the real estate world that's new and shiny, and it's growing like wildfire right now. So it's really where that tech meets the investment space for that. Here's what I just talked about before, just the product types that really what we deal with here at Nuveen Real Estate. We buy the full gamut with the exception of like hotels, not an area where we really dive into much, but everything else on this screen is something that we each have like a sector sleeve to be able to take down internally here. So what is it that I exactly do? So for my day-to-day, I am tasked with finding apartment assets basically up and down the West Coast to buy and sell for our company. So on the buy side, I am meeting with brokers, fielding those different deals that come across my desk, really doing the initial call and talking through the business plan of whatever the broker's pitching, and kind of doing that whole bit there. The markets I primarily cover right now are everything from Denver West, so SoCal, NorCal, Pacific Northwest, Phoenix, Las Vegas, and Salt Lake City, which sounds like a giant swath of territory to cover. But with a company this size and the appetite that we have, we have to be in every market and be very present. So what does that really look like? So I kind of touched on a little bit. From a sourcing side, it's really talking with the brokers, understanding what the deal is, and getting that initial look. From that point, typically I'll take it to a portfolio manager and talk through the business plan with them, and talk a little bit about what the returns might look like, and kind of get them to buy off on the deal. Once we have some buy off from them, we'll move into the underwriting stage. So this is where we'll take the historical financials, we'll take the rent roll, we'll plug that into our model, and really start to kind of underwrite the deal from our perspective, and try to understand what the returns are looking like, and then potentially move into a bidding process. So from that end, at that point, we're really building out like an LOI of some sort, kind of getting in the mix. We have multiple rounds of offers that typically come our way throughout the process. Should we be awarded the deal, then we move into the due diligence phase, where really we're collecting all the documents that the property has from its historical operations. We're getting vendors on site, so we'll have an engineer go out there and make sure that the real estate is sound. We'll have, if we're putting debt on the property, we'll have an appraiser go out there and do their side of the business there. We'll have a phase one, which is an environmental study on the property. And so we'll gather all that information, that cumulative, big moving, horse there, and then we'll build that all into what we call an investment memo. And at that point, we'll present the opportunity to our internal investment committee, which is typically made up of the CIO, each sector head from each product arm. So the housing team, the retail team, industrial, all get on that call, and essentially it's just a rapid fire grill session, trying to poke holes in the deal and really come up with ways or reasons for why we shouldn't do the deal. But really it's an exercise for us to talk through it and really sell the point home of why is it that we're doing this deal for the company. And then at that point, once we get that rubber stamp of approval, then we move towards closing and we'll get the deal done. The sell side of the process is somewhat similar. It's just the opposite end of the spectrum. So at this point, we'll reach out to a handful of brokers to get some BOVs done. So essentially it's them doing their own underwriting and talking through how they will market the property to the market for us, understanding where the pricing has moved kind of in the market, and really what we should expect, hopefully, to see after all bids are coming in and all said and done, really where we should end up on price wise. And so we go through the whole process, just the flip side. And so we're doing all that in-house. So I do both sides of the coin there. So I talked a little bit about it, but really, who is a client? Who are we buying these deals from? So like, it might sound very high level. So Nuveen Real Estate as a whole is who is taking these down, but very specifically, they all fall within very specific funds. So here I have the PCBS, which is the parent company balance sheet money. So that's TIAA's direct investment. So that's money that they keep on their balance sheet that they have allocated towards real estate, in which they have very specific criteria on kind of deals that they want to buy, and that's what we're feeding for there. We have a daily valued open-ended fund. So what that really means is it's a fund that does not have any set time period to it. So if you look across this list, you might see some that say closed-ended value-add fund. Typically, all closed-ended fund means is that it has a set sunset period. So for the one that's next to it, the closed-ended value-add fund, that one has a 5-year lifespan. So essentially, we go out to 2 clients, which are state pension funds. They give us an allocation of capital. We then have, for that specific company, we have 3 years to put that money out. Once the money is fully out, at that point, a 5-year clock starts. And essentially we will, for that specific fund, we do value add for that. So we'll buy a deal, reposition the asset, go through all of the units, renovate the common areas, really bring it up to a new spec there. And then we'll hold that asset for 5 years. And then once that final year comes around, that's when we go and essentially dispose of the whole fund. So all the deals that are built into that fund. And then that's when we realize, return or performance fees on the specific deals that are inside that fund. So, at the end, I'll talk through if you guys have questions about what all these different funds mean, but these are essentially our clients who we are buying these real estate deals for. Last slide from my perspective, this is the kind of profile of the deals that we buy. So we do everything from development in-house. We're starting a whole development arm. We buy core. Core just means it's a brand new shiny product, 2022 built, brand new stuff. And we do the full gamut within that spectrum. So we do conventional, which is your standard apartment building. We do student housing, SFR, which is single family residential. So those are essentially just houses that we're buying up and then renting. BTR, which is build to rent. So it's kind of the same strategy, but essentially it's buying up a community that was kind of built around being rented. So it has like a community pool, much like just like an HOA type of setup, but it was specifically built to be eventually rented out on an individual house basis. And then we have senior housing here. Core Plus is kind of the same as Core. It's a little bit older. It's typically like 2010 or newer vintage. And then it has requires a light touch renovation. So maybe just kind of updating the clubhouse a little bit, redoing the pool, but not a whole lot. And then value add is really where you dive in deep, and you're spending $17,000 to $20,000 per unit to renovate those. You're spending millions of dollars in capital for the common areas. And then from a deferred maintenance standpoint, so when the roofs need to be replaced, the siding on the walls, plumbing, all of that, that's really where you're going to find these really heavy capital numbers to turn these assets. So I know that was a very, very long-winded way, and I rapid fired through it, and I have kind of a little short on time, but I'm going to go ahead and toss it off to Anita, who's going to talk about kind of the debt perspective of our house. And at the end, we can field any and all questions and hop back and forth through the different slides that we covered. So Anita, go ahead.
Thanks, Justin. So hi, everyone. My name is Anita Chen, and I'm an associate on the housing and asset management side. Recently transitioned from the debt originations team. So a little background on me. My first exposure to commercial real estate was a research internship at a small retail boutique firm. So after graduation, I joined Colliers International as a brokerage assistant for a retail broker, but I was unfortunately laid off. But fortunately, I was able to join JLL working alongside 4 industrial brokers with a focus in investment sales and leasing for owner users. At this point, I had about 5 years of brokerage experience, and I wanted to branch into the principal side. So my original goal was to actually get into asset management, but I needed to hone my real estate finance skills. So I joined the debt originations team at Nuveen, where I did a lot of underwriting across all asset types. After about 1.5 years, I have now transitioned to an asset management role for the housing team, where I have a handful of portfolio that I will be managing in the SoCal area. Could you go to the next slide, Justin? I don't know if I can move it. Thanks, Justin. So, in the previous slide, Justin touched on common rules in the real estate world. So this slide is somewhat similar, but it does give you an idea of of opportunities available on just the debt investment platform. So Nuveen has a dedicated local team across the nation and globally for the debt team. I was on the originations team, primarily serving West Coast markets. However, we do have an analyst and associate pool where we are exposed to working with folks in other markets. From this slide, you'll see that at any given time in a deal, I'll be working closely with either our asset management team, capital markets, research and development team, and even operation in order for us to best serve our clients and customize financing strategies to meet their goals. Next slide, please. So, our debt platform has the ability to service different types of financing, such as whole loan, senior loans, junior mezzanine loan. During my time as an analyst, I primarily underwrote on core and core plus fixed rate loans for all asset types and for all markets from Denver West. So you'll see our underwriting and approval process for every deal. So Justin kind of walked through his process, but for the debt side, a huge component of what we're underwriting is understanding asset quality. So what do we know or like about the location and the overall market? If it's a market that you don't know, you can always reach out to the equity team or asset management team to discuss. Like I always reach out to Justin about certain markets for the housing stuff, and it's been great. And other questions would be like, who is the sponsor or the borrower? What is their reputation, their track record, cash equity? What is their business plan? Is it feasible or is it something that we believe in? If it's a commercial property like industrial, office, or retail, we want to understand who is the tenant, like the quality of the tenant. What are their lease terms? Will there be rollovers prior to our loan maturity? Once we dig into the numbers, we figure out in-place values, market assumption, and other anomalies that stands out, such as bad debt or strange expenses, and so on. So us as originators, we will take all of this into consideration when we're discussing pricing guidance, or if we want to, or we need to figure out which capital bucket it fits in. So there are multiple stages when pitching a deal for approval, but once it is approval, we will begin negotiation with the borrower, finalizing term sheet, moving it forward to closing, and then basically as an analyst onto the next deal. One takeaway for any analyst for any role is it's extremely important for you to have as many reps as possible, because that's the only way for you to pick up things for every single deal and learn all the different assets and the different underwriting and approaches. So yeah, so we go to the next slide. So who is our client? Justin did mention this a little bit, and I'm not going to go into to the details as well. But I did mention that when we get to a certain stage of a deal, we do try to figure out which one of our fund a specific deal would fit in. So these are the clients that we're referring to. Each of them has different business plan and investment guidelines that we will take into consideration. For fixed rate loans on the core deal, there's only one account that we would pitch it for, and that would actually be our parent company balance sheet money. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to go into that detail. I want to make sure I have time for Q&A. But you know, all these account high-level summary is that some fund will have limits on dollars they can put out. Some have preference on asset types. Some have too much exposure on asset type, and just so on and so forth. But yeah, I wanted to open up for Q&A.
Thank you so much, Justin and Anita. If anyone has any questions, please feel free. I see Lawrence has a question, so go ahead.
Hi. Well, first of all, it's great to see you again, Justin. I've seen you, weeks ago, and it's great to see you again on here. And my questions for you guys is, when you talk about assets management and you go into become like an analyst in big firm like JOL or Nuveen or even Markets and Miller Chaps, it's like what I see is are isn't they like a little bit more prioritize taking students from UCLA or USC or bigger schools, which is I really I see that a lot. And when when I see example like how do you advise students that are coming from Cal Poly Pomona who is not very popular in commercial real estate industry to flourish in the industry.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Lawrence, and I can speak to it a little bit first, and then Nina, if you want to hop in. I will definitely say that the private equity space, I mean, even if you look at investment banking space, is has a stigma in the past of like, well, especially on the investment banking side, it definitely has a target school list that they really recruit from. I will say in the private equity real estate space, it's a little bit different. It's not as like who what school did you go to, but really focuses on your experience. So I would say, at least just my pathway to get kind of to where I'm at now, a lot of it had to do with some self-study courses, like you'll see on the screen, and we'll talk to this at the end. But also to just networking. Networking was huge. Understanding who the key players are in the business is the best thing you can do. There are groups out there like Bascom who has a really built out analyst program where they have a couple slots that they do per year, but it's a very competitive process. But it's something that really, I mean, when you come out of that program, you're pretty much at the level where you can essentially do a deal on your own. You're at that junior sourcing level. I think the biggest advice that I would give is just really network. I mean, Lawrence, you've done a great job of it, reaching out to me, finding out who's in the position that you want, whether it's on the brokerage side of the house, whether it's portfolio management, asset management, transactions, whatever the case is. Just having those conversations, grab a coffee, just offer to take someone a coffee and say, hey, I want us to learn about what you do day to day, because honestly, this world can be very, very broad. I mean, when you talk about these different roles that you do at the company, and it can be a lot to understand, but maybe you just hop on LinkedIn and find out, like, we have incredible companies here in SoCal, especially in the Newport Beach area. Invesco's here, Nuveen's here, Bascom's here. You can just reach out on LinkedIn and find out who is in that position that you maybe have some interest in, and just go grab a coffee and just talk through it without anything being expected from that person, but just to understand like what it is that they do on their day-to-day role. Anita, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, I would definitely say networking, like what Justin said. I can go back to my experience. So I graduated from UCI, and UCI at the time, the Real Estate Association was not created yet. So I honestly, after graduation, I had no idea who to go to. I just applied to all the jobs that was available to me. And I joined a real estate organization, and that was where I was able to pick people's brain. If you guys are in a real estate association now, and it definitely helps that you guys are starting earlier than I did. So yes, definitely network. The other advice that I would say is, yes, there are companies who have target schools that they look at. I think time is changing. Try not to worry too much about that and really focus on what you bring to the table. What can you do to improve the skill set and be just as competitive as somebody, let's say UCLA or USC. I did a lot of self-studying course during my time getting into the private equity space. So yeah.
Yeah, I will say too, a lot of that relationship, comes back to, people really reaching out to their alma mater. UCLA, USC is massive in the SoCal real estate world. So obviously they without, meaning to, there is some favoritism to some of the, new students that are coming out of that area. But I think times are changing, like Anita said, and I think the opportunities are going to open up far and wide. And at a company like Nuveen Real Estate, when we hire for an analyst position, it may not just be for one singular office. They're going to, it could be for our Chicago office, Dallas, Charlotte, New York. So if you have the ability and you want to that experience, if you're willing to move, there are definitely opportunities to kind of move around and really get that different, lifestyle essentially, if you want to be in Manhattan or whatever the case is. So, if you're open to that, that might make you a better candidate as well.
And also, I do want to promote, Nuveen does have a rotational analyst program. I'm not sure what the period is in terms of applying for it and getting accepted, but it's basically a 2-year program. And for the first year, you will be assigned to one team anywhere across the United States, actually. And then once your year is up, you can go to a different team. And then after the second year is up, it's like you get to choose which team you want to be, and then see if that team also is willing or have the budget or is willing to take you on for full-time position. So it's very similar to Bascom's internship program, I think it was.
Right.
One of my mentees for actually Cre Orange County is a graduate of Bascom Group, and she recently got accepted to Panettone for, I think, a financial analyst role. So if you are able to find a company that has internship program where you're not sure what you want to do, but you want to get your feet wet.
Yeah. Well, thank you for answering. I have another question, but I'll wait until everyone asks and then I'll do it.
Noret's hand is raised as well.
Do you want me to go now or do you want to wait? I'm happy to wait.
Yeah, you can go, yeah.
So I just want to tell you, just Anita and Felix, very informative presentation, absolutely awesome. I do have a couple questions for you, but I will just also attest to everything you both said. Ask people to go to coffee. If you're interested in something that they do, ask them to go to coffee. One of the greatest things about getting involved with an organization, either all of them, any of them, is that once you become a student member, and it's very inexpensive to become a student member of these great organizations, you get to meet people like myself that all they want to do in their day is help somebody else. And I talk to everybody across the nation in all different types of real estate, so I know where all the jobs are. So I help people get jobs every single day. So it's really easy to just pick up the phone or send an email, but always do that to people. People love to help people. And I will also tell you that if you are a member of any organization involved with real estate, it doesn't have to be just for commercial, but maybe it's Cre, maybe it's NAIOP. When you call someone that's another member of one of those organizations, they're even going to be more apt to help you and answer the phone and give you that help and that knowledge and that guidance that you're looking for. So I do have a couple of questions for you guys. So obviously you do more long-term hold, right, on quite a bit of the assets, depending on what fund you're putting it in, right? That's what I understood from our conversation. So my question for you then would be, on the product that you're selling, do you ever do any tax analysis studies or cost seg studies, so your product and your property stands out more to potential buyers? Because if they're looking at 3 different properties and your property comes with $7 million in tax benefits up front, the buyer gets year 1, the buyer's going to want to buy your product. Then that also goes for product that you're buying as well, because you can look at a piece of property, and if you get a benefit analysis, it'll tell you what year 1 tax refund rebate amount you can get back in the pocket for the fund year 1. So are you using those systems?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that might fall a little bit of my purview just from the position I'm in. It really varies by market. I've done deals pretty much in every major market across the US. In some places like Nashville or in Texas, there really isn't any like tax benefits to be had on our end of the business, just because it's very local jurisdiction on how those taxes will become reassessed. With California, it's very easily well known on it's pretty set. If you buy and sell an asset here, you're going to be raised to whatever the new value of that property is, whatever the sales purchase price is, and it's capped on the growth. It's interesting that you kind of bring that up, because in some instances we have to sell. So like when I talked about the closed-ended funds, it doesn't matter whether or not like the market conditions are conducive. to put an asset out. I think most recently it's been interesting because there have been such few product on the market. 2020 was a really interesting year because every seller held. There was no discount to be had. Not until the end of the year we really started to see kind of the floodgates open a little bit, and then 2021 was just insane. I mean, there was product flying from all different areas. But in terms of that being like a differentiating factor, it's something that I guess really doesn't affect us too much. At least just being on the disposition side of things. For an acquisition, yes, of course, like if there's a deal with some sort of tax abatement for either A, being built with like LEED certification, where the ESG component comes in and they have some sort of tax abatement from the state, yeah, of course, that is great, and that is that value that you're missing from not having that tax abatement, we will cap that and add that into our equation when we're understanding what that added value is there. But overall, in some funds like our balance sheet money, every year they have to realize some sort of return. So there are assets in their funds that are always on the docket for sale. And it doesn't matter whether or not that's really an accretive sell. Sometimes it has to be done just to, show some sort of return for the fund itself. But I will say it's very market dependent in terms of like that kind of tax benefit analysis.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
Felix, do you have an email address I can reach out to you?
Yeah, it's just justin.felix@nuveen.com.
Thank you.
Sure.
JM, I see that your hand is also raised. If you want to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Thank you, Anita, for that great presentation. I just wanted to ask, ultimately, I want to start off as an analyst in the commercial real estate industry.
Sure.
I just wanted to ask for some advice. Like, what software do you guys recommend I should become really an expert? Like, are you guys more using Excel or Argus, or would you say be an expert on both, or which software do you guys use more on a daily?
I say both. The more you know, the better opportunity you'll get. One thing, when I entered my first commercial real estate job, it was a huge requirement to know Argus. So I would definitely say Argus. I know on the housing side, we don't use Argus very much. We mainly use Excel. It's good if you can get yourself familiarized with, products like Yardi or what was the other one? Tableau. But those are usually sometimes company specific.
Yeah, I would agree, Anita. I think, definitely from a housing perspective, we only use Excel just because Argus really doesn't serve a purpose for us. Argus is huge, especially on the debt side, because, Anita can speak to that as well, but they're underwriting every single product type in the various markets that they cover. At many companies too, I know for a while at the analyst level here, we had a program where you can get Argus certified, or at least had an initial kind of, class to go through it and make sure you had some sort of competency in it. But it is a huge plus if you could, use a student discount. I think when I was at Cal Poly, there was a program where you could get certified for a discounted cost. If that is still around, I would jump on that 100%, because that is invaluable, because you don't know what product type you'll end up on. And to be honest, early on in your career, you want to be able to kind of be a generalist. You want to be able to underwrite every product type, not really be so specialized in one area, unless they're on the brokerage side. But I would say too, just from a modeling perspective, Excel knowledge is massive. So there's two resources I have on the screen, and I'll send this out on an email to Sonica, and she can kind of disperse it out to the members. But there is one certification on there. It's kind of like a actual class program that you can go through and really kind of build up your Excel knowledge, understanding how to build out waterfalls from a JV structure perspective, and then just doing one-off deals is huge too, especially on the housing side. So I would say, if you could hop into one of these self-study courses or do that certification, that's massive. And you could put that on your LinkedIn as well. And, that certification is well known among the Blackstones of the world and us and a couple other big groups. So well worth the time and the money.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
I think we have time for 2 more questions. So Marvin, go ahead. And then Lawrence, if you had another question, you want to hop back in, please feel free.
Great. Well, before I begin, just big thanks to you, Justin and Anita, for taking the time to come and give an awesome presentation to us, as well as Narette. Thank you for your information on Cre as well. But I did have a question. So for all the clients you mentioned, you get deals for, were they already clients associated with Nuveen, or have both of you helped build those relations over time? And if so, could you tell us more about the process behind getting clients and nourishing those long-term relationships?
Yeah, Nia, do you want to take that, or I can take it?
You can take it from the Nuveen side, and then I can take it from other like brokerage, because
Yeah,
it's
that
a little
actually-
bit different.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's
a little
great.
bit different. Mhm.
Right. So I would say, Marvin, that from the Nuveen real estate side, I mean, these are all funds that are already built out at the company level. Now within these funds, you have very specific clients. So like the closed-ended value add fund here, it's actually three pension fund advisors from different states. I won't mention their names, but that portfolio manager is the one who's really doing the fundraising effort. They're going out and pitching essentially that fund to them and try to bring in capital to it. Our retirement lifecycle fund, so that's a fund actually you could go and buy through TIAA. And then basically what that is, it's a time dated fund. So let's say you're saying I'm going to retire in 2050 or something. That fund constantly rebalances itself as it gets closer to your retirement date. So starts off as more of a growth kind of setup, and then rebalances itself to more of a stable kind of income producing fund. We have a private non-traded REIT. So that's essentially just a REIT structure, just not traded on the stock market. So usually institutional investors from either big wirehouses or big private money that are classified as an institutional investor can invest in that fund. And then we have like the city focused fund. It picks one city that it solely invests in, and the clients are the same. So really what it is that we have a whole client portfolio team who will go out and like sit in basically meetings with all the heads of maybe different family office shops, or just the Merrill Lynch's of the world, the Bank of America's, and really trying to pitch that those funds to those basically wealth advisors or whatnot. So that's where that lives. And then Anita can talk to like the brokerage side of the house.
Yeah. So Justin was referring to our existing or clientele or accounts is at Nuveen. So on the debt side and even on the equity side, when we get deals, we're trying to pitch it to a certain bucket. Technically, those who are bringing us the deal are kind of client or relationships, right? So those brokers that gives us the deals are existing relationship, and oftentimes we have like brokerage luncheons or networking events to try to build relationships, because the more you have with those brokers, the more deals come your way. And from a broker's perspective, let's say you're doing like owner users. When I was at JLL, a lot of them were cold calling. Some were assisting, some were cold calling, and it really depends on which commercial real estate you're going into. But on the cold calling side, or the brokerage where you do leasing or owner user sales and whatnot, it's very important for you to be under a broker that has that network and show you the ropes. And then once you have that in your pocket, then you'll be able to turn around and do the same, like adopt the same habits and experience.
I see. Is there like any advice you guys have for cold calling, those types of relationships, or just introducing yourself out there?
Just be yourself. I think it's the biggest takeaway. I'm naturally a very awkward person in person and on camera, but I find that is to my advantage because I stand out that way. So it's important for you to be yourself, and I'm more naturally an introvert, and I find typing up my notes and practicing helps before I speak to somebody. But that's my method. So just got to find a method that works for you.
Yeah, I would say too, like when I was at Marcus & Millichap, I mean, the whole goal was always to get the meeting, set the meeting. So if you can get in front of the client, it's a hell of a lot better than just being over the phone. And that's you build that relationship. It's all relationship business on the sales side of the world. So if you can go and sit front face to face and maybe just even just hear out what their strategies are, what their goals are, and without trying to sell anything, just at least just kind of trying to meet them and build that face to face connection. I mean, I think it's invaluable and will get you probably a lot farther than just picking up the phone every month and giving them a buzz and basically bugging them at dinner time, So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, great answers. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Of course.
I have to hop. I think I should go present the deal right now to our pipeline call. So I'll let Anita stay on if she has a little bit more time, maybe 5 minutes to answer some more questions. But
I don't need a percent. So if you guys have more questions, I'm around.
Yeah, team, it was great to meet you. I will send you an email with those resources, those links at the end, and then you guys can distribute those among the members.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you for joining us, Justin. And yeah, definitely send that, and then I'll send it to our members as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, everyone.
All right, so yeah, it is coming to 1 o'clock, and I know that everyone has meetings, classes, meetings, etc. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand. I do have one question that I'll save to the end, but Lawrence, I know you mentioned that you had a question. Do you wanna ask that right now?
Yeah, so the thing is so you guys do assets management, you guys do, debt and equity, and there's a lot of companies out there also do the same thing, just like earlier you said JOL and at CBRE or Brookfield Properties or all the big firms. So what differentiates Nuveen from other companies?
Oh, that's a good point. So Nuveen does not function like a brokerage like JLL, CBRE, Marcus Millishap, or whatnot. Our competitor would be somebody like PGIM, Pacific Life, BlackRock, Brookfield. So my time at Nuveen, and one thing that I absolutely love is the fact that they're promoting diversity. So I am a minority in our industry. I'm also, women and being Asian. That was one of the challenge of trying to get jobs in our industry, at least from my experience. And like I said earlier, it's changed. A lot has changed. Nuveen does a very good job at promoting diversity. And I know that doesn't really speak to the product type and the kind of work that we do, but all of those translates. Yeah, I think that's the biggest pro that I see being a part of Nuveen's team. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so last question. Do you have any internship or full-time job opportunities that our members should be looking out for?
At Nuveen, there's actually a couple. I know my role is gonna be backfill somehow, but the requisition is not up, so I can let you guys know. I can send some requisition available, and I am also part of crew for the Orange County chapter, and we do have a couple of jobs that I've seen come my way, so I'll be sure to forward that to you.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone's been super interested to hear about this, and thank you so much for joining us as well, Anita. It's great to have another crew member join us with Norette, and yeah, this was a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Of course. I hope you guys have a great one.
Thank you. If anyone has any questions, if you guys want to get in touch with Anita and Justin, I will get their emails and send it to you guys, and you guys can keep in touch. Remember, reaching out is key, just like all these great people have mentioned already. So do that.
Wait, can you send us the link on the PowerPoints you guys have, like the real estate, I think exam, no, not exam, or certification, some stuff like that earlier?
Oh, the resources?
Yeah, I would love to have those, and I don't know any links that you guys have. I really want to get to know Nuveen a little more because I have not heard too much about it.
Yeah, I believe Justin will send it, and I've also taken a screenshot of their that thing. I'll get in contact with both of them to discuss that further and get that information for you guys. All right, have a great rest of your day, guys. Thank you so much for joining us again, and hope to see you next week for our NAIOP panel. Please join. NAIOP is also a great group of people that help us and want to talk to us a lot and get CPP talent. So definitely make sure to come to that panel and talk to them as well.
All right, thank you, everybody.